After exploring the biographies of the world's most famous motorcycle racers, I noticed something they all have in common. Perhaps for many of you, this won't be news, but you may not realize just how important this is. Let me give you a few examples to show you what I mean. Let's start with Valentino Rossi, the 9-time Grand Prix motorcycle racing world champion. He was born in Italy in 1979 to Graziano Rossi, a former motorcycle racer. Valentino developed a passion for racing at a very young age. At the age of 5, he was already racing a go-kart with a power-to-weight ratio comparable to that of a Lamborghini Aventador. Graziano survived a serious motorcycle accident and didn't want to put his son in danger. Since karting was considered safer than motorcycling, it became his initial choice. However, kart racing turned out to be more expensive, so Rossi had to switch to motorcycles. Moving on to Marc Márquez and his younger brother Alex. Marc was born in Spain in 1993. He and his brother grew up surrounded by motorcycles. Marc got his first bike for Christmas at the age of 4. His father, Julian, was member of a local club, the Moto Club Segura, famous for organizing important enduro events. In 1998, Marc started racing in the initiation category of enduro for kids. In 1999, he got a second-hand 50 cubic centimeters off-road pocket bike from his father. Marc remembers competing with his father in an enduro. His father was leading on a full-size bike with baby Marc following on his small bike with tiny wheels. Do you see where I'm going with this? Max Biaggi, born in Italy in 1971. Maximiliano was more interested in football as a child. He had a girlfriend, rode scooters, and loved to have fun like any other teenager. But at the age of 17, his friend, Daniel, introduced him to motorcycle racing. Max loved it very much, but he didn't have any money to buy a bike. Max's father, Pedro, considered motorcycles dangerous and initially refused to help. Then Max decided to earn money to buy a motorcycle on his own and got a job as a courier. Seeing his son's determination, Pedro understood that it wasn't just a passing interest and eventually began sponsoring his son's passion. So, at the age of 17, Max got his first motorcycle. By the age of 18, Max was already racing, and at that time, his father used to work as his mechanic and provided significant financial support. Jonathan Ray was born in Northern Ireland in 1987, with racing in his blood. His father, Johnny, achieved success as a road racing champion and Isle of Man Junior TT winner, and his grandfather sponsored Joey Dunlop, while his great-grandfather was a regular competitor on the Ulster Grand Prix circuit. By the time he was 6, Jonathan was racing in motocross. Casey Stoner was born in Australia in 1985, and he began racing at a very young age. When he was 4, he was already competing on a Gold Coast dirt track. By the age of 14, he won 41 national titles and 70 state trophies. Casey's family relocated to England in 2000, as age restrictions prevented him from pursuing a road racing career in Australia. Casey's parents, Father Colin and Mother Bronwyn, took the risk of selling their farm in Australia to finance the trip. Nicky Hayden, born in the USA in 1981, inherited his passion for motorcycles from his father, Earl, a dirt track motorcycle racer. Nicky wasn't the only child in the family. So Earl and his wife, Rose, even built a racetrack on their property for their children to race on. According to Roger Hayden, their father didn't have his own hobbies and did everything for his children. Love and attention were always there for them all. Jorge Lorenzo, born in 1987 in Spain. His father, Chicho, is known for being an obsessive perfectionist who raised his son in the same manner. Jorge was 3 years old when his father started training him. The approach was strictly scientific. Jorge didn't just ride faster and faster around the dirt track. He perfected every movement. It required endless repetition of low-speed riding exercises around cones and go-kart tracks. These were real training sessions, not just riding for fun. The Lorenzo family lived above Chicho's motorcycle repair shop in Palma de Mallorca. Weekdays were spent in the shop, weekends at the racetrack. Maverick Vinales, born in 1995 in Spain. He began competitive racing at the age of 3 in minimotos, before moving on to motocross and eventually circuit racing. He said that at the age of 10, he spent just one weekend sleeping in his own bed at home. The rest of the time was spent racing, mini bikes, motocross, or whatever could be raced. Needless to say, none of this would have been possible without the support of his father, Angel Vinales. It's unlikely that a 3-year-old kid could organize his participation in races, or buy himself a motorcycle. Next rider, Francesco Bagnaia. He was born in Italy in 1997. His father was never a professional racer, but enjoyed riding motorcycles and participating in track days with his brother. Young Pecco loved watching his father and uncle on the track. Pecco received his first 50 cubic centimeters Beta motocross bike at the age of 6, and by the age of 8, he received a racing Minimoto. Fabio Quartararo, born in France in 1999, started his racing career at the age of 4. His father, Etienne, competed in the 1986 French Motorcycle Grand Prix in the 250 class. Toprak Razgatlioglu, born in Turkey in 1996. He is the second son of the famous Turkish stunt motorcyclist, Arif Razgatlioglu, known as Wheelie Arif. Kenny Roberts, born in 1951 in the United States, California. Originally, Kenny thought he would race horses for a living. His family had horses, and Kenny was a small kid, so a career of a jockey seemed quite suitable. At the age of 12, Roberts began his motorcycle racing career on a Tohatsu motorcycle. His father bought him that bike after Kenny saw a local dirt track race in Modesto. Little Kenny was inspired and said that he could beat all those guys in a race. And finally, Barry Sheene. He was born in England in 1950. I have another video specifically about him on my channel. In short, Barry's father was also into motorcycles, and Barry was able to ride a bike since he was just a little kid. Well, you get the point. Behind great people, there are other great people who set an example and raised them well. In this case, we see it in the world's best motorcycle racers whose fathers truly cared for them and invested their time and effort in them. Different countries, different years of birth, different attitudes towards motorcycles, different starting ages. The only constants are the favorable conditions created by parents for the self-realization of the child. So what's the conclusion? Why did I even make this video? First, don't be upset if you haven't achieved a level of success that is similar to others. Perhaps you didn't have the same conditions or circumstances that others had. Second, if you have children, make sure they can try different things from a young age. It doesn't have to be specifically motorcycle racing. It could be trying photography, playing the piano, or any other activity. If your child shows interest in something, always provide support. You should give your child the opportunity to do things independently and develop an interest. Of course, not everyone will become famous and win a world championship. But when you care for your child, you become closer and build a connection. Your kid will be infinitely grateful for this. Your child will be able to be happy, and seeing your child's success will make you proud. It will make you happy too.